Okay, large group. Everybody, large group.
I love to talk about the module. It's such a great, great program, and it's been a great experience for all of us who have been involved.
Webster's Dictionary defines module as one of a set of parts that can be connected or combined to build or complete something.
So the module started 1973 by the Zavarian brothers, and they were given direction by the diocese to create a program to bring the youth, the teenagers, together from a number of parishes. Joe and Irene kind of became involved with it because they were working on the marriage encounter, and I believe they were given a challenge or a direction to work actively with the youth.
The Flushing module was an abbreviation by teenagers of the Flushing Modular Planning Project, which was what the diocese called the planning committee, and that was changed to the Flushing Pastoral Planning Council. But the Flushing module stuck with kids.
I believe they had well over 60 teenagers that were involved in it. They ran a great event, which was Search Day, was our first day. And after that day, it was so successful. Parents were excited about it, the teenagers were excited about it. Unfortunately, the diocese kind of pulled funding out of it and the brothers out of it. Then it was just kept alive by Joe and Irene, and they reached out to lay people.
We started with the idea of working with a team of people from various parishes, and we were able to gather such people together.
You know, from there it's history. It kept alive from that.
We planned these days that we had for teenagers, which consisted of small group discussion, talks, and a mass.
Every week there were meetings, there were planning meetings, and then there were additional planning meetings on top of that. These people were relentless in their pursuit of planning the best event for teens. I remember sitting in the kitchen waiting for certain team members to come in and talk to me or Allison, whether it was Fran Seal or John Federa would come in. Sometimes Steve London would come in, David Poole would come in, you know, sitting in the kitchen talking to me or to Allison or to Chris.
I remember going into my first team meeting at Joe and Irene's house, and the living room was packed with people, and there was such a great sense of spirit and being together to create this mission. I'm not going to say it was not without conflict, because it was very strong personalities and very outgoing people. One of the things Lorraine Kelly said, I had been invited to come to the team with my friend Tom Hannon, and he and I approach things very differently. He's on the quieter side, I'm more on the loud. So Lorraine had said, boy, those two guys, they're really good. One is really nice and quiet, but that other one's got a real big mouth.
As a module team member, I've had some of my biggest laughs and some of my most frustrating moments, but it's all because we're passionate. We're passionate about doing the work for the kids, and at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter who had the best idea or who said what.
I mean, there's a lot of business and we take care of a lot of stuff, but there's a lot of laughter. I don't think I laugh as heartily with anybody that I do with people on the module team.
The team thing radiates out to the kids. It's a community forming experience.
It was really the teens that were loving the community and being together and sharing their faith. And the real key sell to it has always been that the lay people, even though they're adults and older, that they were able to share their own personal witness and their own personal stories and connect with the teens on what was going on with them, with their relationship with God, with their families, in their school and in their parish.
The first thing that I loved about it is that I was able to incorporate playing music and taking everything we already did in church and youth groups and the day camp that we were doing in St. Mel's, and then meeting all these wonderful people.
I met some of the most marvelous people, some of my best friends, and I had some of the greatest experiences I will never forget.
The great part of it was, at the time, and at least initially for many years, we had a Mass. We had these on Sunday, and the kids even said to us, the Mass is the best part. They participated in it, they planned the readings, it was terrific.
And then to be at that Mass, and people giving the sign of peace like I had never seen before. And and they meant it when they wished you peace. That was church, like I'd never experienced it before, and probably never have since, except in the module.
It's been a great experience of church for all of us, and we've worked with wonderful people.
In the early years of the module, we were sponsored by Father Jim Collins, who was out of St. Michael's, where we had a lot of our teens. And he was very involved in the program in the early years. Later on, there was a team retreat that was facilitated by Tom Caserta, and he's the one who said, for the type of work that you do and the way that you guys come together and meet every month, you need to have a spiritual director, like somebody that's assigned to you that will continue to feed you spiritually. That led us to Monsignor Jack Waldron, as I believe he was our first official spiritual director of the program. Once he was kind of assigned, he moved out to Brooklyn. He was assigned to a parish, and we had approached Father Tony Ercolano, who spent many years with the team, and he played a very instrumental role with, he was a great spiritual director for us. Although every parish, when we used to have masses on all of our days, we would reach out to a parish priest and ask them to say mass for us. We've operated out of the parishes mostly Northeast Queens. So St. Mel's, St. Andrews, St. Luke's, St. Robert's, OLBS, Holy Trinity, Holy Family, St. Kevin's. And we've been invited into other parishes as well. We've really been spread out. I think we have a really good name and reputation in a lot of places.
I went to St. Anne's, that was my parish. And when I was an 8th grader, Doris came and recruited for the module because that's what they did. So when it came my turn, 4 years later, I went and recruited for the module. But what do you say about the module? You know, how do you explain it? Our flyers say, the MYP operates to enhance the spiritual growth of high school-aged Catholics through discussion and prayer. But what the heck does that mean?
A lot of people ask me that because I spend a lot of time doing it. So the module is a Catholic-based program for teenagers in Northeast Queens, although we've expanded to the needs of any teen that would like to be a part of our group.
We run retreat programs, day retreat programs, and one time a year, a weekend retreat for Catholic youth in Northeastern Queens. It is run by adult team members who think it's necessary to give teens an opportunity and a safe place to talk about the struggles of being Catholic and the want to continue to be Catholic in sometimes a place that's not easy to make that decision, like high school.
And to this day, 40 years later, we're working in the same way, which is a very good way to work. You don't make your decisions by yourself, and you're not executing them by yourself. You work collaboratively, and you produce collaboratively.
As much as it changes, it stays the same. Team members give witness talks, and we talk in small groups about the witness talks, and we share our trials and tribulations and triumphs in being Catholic. And mostly more about, I think, the triumphs than the trials.
It's a great faith experience because it's a matter of our sharing our faith. And I think with the kids, we've always treated them as equals. It just somehow happened naturally, all of us who work with the kids.
We relate to teens as friends, as equals in intelligence and dignity and faith, if not in maturity.
They knew that they could, say whatever they wanted to say.
I mean, we really focus on teenagers to get a better sense of who they are, where they are in their community, in their families, the values that Christ gave to us and showed us, and how it relates to them. The teens are challenged to look at those things. Probably 90% of the times they're already living that kind of life and example, and they don't really realize that. We've been a real good constant in the Catholic Church. There's not a lot of youth groups out there. Ours has always stayed with a Catholic center. All of our events are always around Catholic themes and the relationship with God. The hope is that the kids not only learn something about themselves, but have a lot of fun with it. The softball games are always really good, and the picnics were fun. We had annual picnics with the team and the teens coming together at Crochron Park. We've had annual softball challenges, volleyball challenges. The annual softball game became a big challenge. The teens were really into beating the team. And of course, we played that up at all of our days. And we had t-shirts printed up to kind of get the kids a little angry about it. But it was a real sense of community. So we would all get the unified t-shirts. That probably led a little bit to the coffee house, because I guess that was before we had decided to do, the coffee house and have everybody have the same t-shirt, as a community. As the years go on, and kids seem to be more committed to other extracurricular things, but somehow we've been very successful in being one of those extracurricular things that the kids want to come to and that they get something out of it. And I think, a tribute to us is a lot of our teens are able to continue and strengthen their faith beyond us, and I think because of the seeds that we planted.
You think that it's a small little world, but sometimes the Modular Youth Program extends beyond just a basement somewhere in northeastern Queens. There is a famous story now about two police officers in the 90s who were on the job, and one officer, Officer Casey, took one of the people that he was arresting and threw him up against the car, and the perp that he threw up against the car, out of the corner of his mouth, said, "Shh, Mike Casey, it's Sergio from the module. Knock it off. Take it easy on me, man. Take it easy on me." And Mike Casey said, "Oh, Sergio, hey, what's up?" But he was undercover, so they still had to kind of keep it that way. But the Module Youth Program, permeated into some sort of sting operation in New York City, which is kind of funny to think of.
The beauty of our program has always been that we don't have overhead. We're not really supporting everything. So fundraising really in the early years of the module were more for expenses, minor expenses, and things to kind of enhance our days. So in the early days, there were car washes, cake sales, flea markets. Then we went to an annual raffle. The next thing became, I guess in 1990, a large number of our teens were actively involved in their high schools in theater and doing plays, and were very musical. So we decided to tap into that resource and created our coffee house. So the coffee house has really become a big fixture in the module for us as a fundraiser, for us as a way of being alive in the community so that people recognize that the group is still in existence. We've had sing-alongs to kind of pull the audience in. We've had raffles that have really kind of pulled probably half of the revenue that we make at the events. And then that money was used to subsidize retreats. The cost of retreats and using retreat space had gone up quite a bit, and we felt that that might be restricting the kids from coming. So bringing in that larger amount of money was a way to kind of subsidize that cost and our expenses as well. In the mid-70s, early 80s, we had annual retreats that were a huge draw for our teens. I don't know if they were doing so much of that in the, well, they definitely weren't doing it on the parish level. The high schools were kind of doing it, but not so much. But the module retreat was definitely a time where the kids came together. We took them away for a Friday night to a Sunday experience. We used many different places that were available to us. The kids enjoyed just having that extended time of being together, and gave us the opportunity not only to celebrate a special Mass, but many opportunities for prayer within the group and as a large group. It gave us the liberty to create more elaborate activities, Catholic themes about our faith, about the Beatitudes, about apostles, about the road to Emmaus, different scriptures, different parables, different parts of the Mass. We were able to kind of take those things and develop them into a weekend experience for the kids and incorporate fun and prayer.
A retreat is a wonderful experience. It's exactly that. It's a retreat. It's removing yourself from the world and being just with a small group of people, concentrating on one particular thing, which usually is yourself and your relationship with God. And I think it's an awesome experience, not only for young adults, teens, it's a wonderful experience for the team members to be afforded that opportunity to spend time and share your faith and share your struggles and be triumphant at the end of the weekend and feel so good about yourself and about the decisions you make or are struggling with, and having the opportunity to share that experience with like-minded folk There's nothing like it.
They were almost the focal thing every year. Starting in September, the kids would start building up that excitement for the spring retreat, which was good for the weather. Although we had retreats where we were snowed, not snowed in, but it snowed during the retreat. It was a good way for the team to kind of come together as well and share and build a community.
And it was all about God, it was all about Jesus, but it was just fun.
If I think module fun, I'll think retreat and entertainment night. I can think of being with the team and the teens being off doing something, and we would kind of get somewhere and be really goofy.
We secretly replaced Tom Levitt's pillow with the breast of Maria Varela. Let's see if you can tell the difference, shall we?
I remember retreat Kathy and I were on, and we did the Big Bun skit, and I had a big pillow in my pants with most of the team, and we were supposed to be the funny part, and Kathy and Tom Hannon wound up centering the whole skit around insulting us. Ronnie Presti was in a diaper with a pillow in it. None of us were able to kind of respond because they were having such a good time making fun of us, and the kids were loving that too. So that was a great time.
One of the my favorite skits was Missy. They did these Spartan cheerleaders, but they did all module stuff, like large group, and they made an L and a G, and they did these large group, I mean, just riotously funny stuff. Skits that you remember forever, and you try to reprise them in different ways, and kids talk about them,
It's different than any other experience that I have ever been outside of my own family, where I have so much fun. The team is really, part of my life, part of my family.
I absolutely think of the MYP team as a second family, and Joe and Irene especially. Joe, I've always felt, is this wise grandfatherly figure, this sage kind of fellow. And Irene, I've always thought of like a crazy aunt. And Irene, I mean that in the best possible way. Just so vibrant and so fun to be around.
They are really parental in many ways.
Mom and Dad, Pop, or Mommy, as Tommy will like to call. No, Mommy, we're not going to do that.
They have been a part of every important, beautiful facet of my life since I know them.
Joe and Irene are phenomenal. I loved listening to them give talks. It was great.
They have been great mentors to me, given me great advice, and always supportive. Joe would call after a day or after a retreat if it was something that I had rectored, and Joe always made it a point to say, great job. He would always be the call the next day. Irene will always appreciate the time that people give and what they do, not only for the module, but for everything in their lives.
One of the things that I'm most grateful for in the module is that because of it, I met Joe and Irene.
They are the cornerstone of this program. If it weren't for them, none of us would be here. And we are forever, many hundreds of us are forever indebted to Joe and Irene.
This looks familiar, vaguely familiar, almost unreal yet. It's too soon to feel yet, close to my soul, and yet so far away. I'm going to go back there someday.
Every time you walk in the door, it's like a family reunion. You see people you haven't seen in a couple of months, or since they left the last time you saw them, they walked out the door.
Sun rises, night falls, sometimes the sky calls. Is that a song there? And do I belong there? I've never been there, but I know the way. I'm going to go back there someday.
For many years, although I was a teen and then a team member, promised myself I'd come back, I'd come to reunions, and maybe it wasn't the right time, but sometime last year, I came to the coffee house and remembered again why it was the kind of group it was and the people it was, and then getting back on the team was wonderful, and was happy to have my wife come and do that as well.
Come and go with me. It's more fun to share. We'll both be completely at home in midair. We're flying, not walking on featherless wings. We can hold on to love like invisible strings.
I was really an outsider, not having been from Flushing or one of a kid in the program. And I remember my first retreat, and this really sticks with me, you know, after so many years. My group, the seniors, were emotional, probably because they were seniors, and they were all holding each other. And I remember, you know, one of the kids grabbing me and pulling me into it. But it really was a way of being, you know, pulled in and almost like God putting his arm around me and making me a part of the group.
The one thing about the module is that I never felt like an outsider. Although I am Jewish and my wife is Catholic, I felt always as part of the group.
There's not a word yet for old friends who've just met. Part heaven, part space, or have I found my place? You can just visit, but I plan to stay. I'm going to go back there someday. I'm going to go back there someday.
I consider my Catholic journey and my journey as a Christian is deeply, deeply rooted in the Modular Youth Program. If it weren't for the Modular Youth Program, I don't think I'd be the Catholic that I am today. I doubt it.
I've always kind of said people do what they can do, people give what they can give, and whatever they do, you know, it's appreciated.
Coming from being a kid also where this place changed my life, to being able to now, for a while, being able to maybe somehow a fraction of that being able to help others. It's the greatest gift you can ever give and be given.
You know, it's not always easy. We don't get 60 kids on a day anymore. We're here because God wants us here. And if we like it or not, God wants us to be doing this. And the great work that we do and all of the planning and the love of God and the love of each other that we put into it really makes an impact in people's lives. And I think that's really the most important thing about the module, that we continue to do God's work and we do it joyfully.
My faith has expanded and grown because of it. And it's a blessing. I think that it's honorable for all of the team to continue to do the work. I think it's important that the team prior to the team that is now did the foundation work and allows us to have this arsenal of days and retreats to glean from, that we can continue to touch the youth in northeastern Queens and spread the good news.
Module, one of a set of parts that can be connected or combined to build or complete something.
And continue to build the city of God the best we can.